Welcome, everybody, to Fancy Fridays, your weekend jump-off show. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy Tom.
And I go by Kip.
And we have the pleasure to be here today at Forthright, Cyder, and Meadery.
Yeah, and we actually have the owners and operators with us, Michelle Eaton and Japheth Fitzpatrick.
How's it going, guys? Nice to have you.
Yes.
Thanks for having us, guys. This is going to be great.
Thank you for opening your doors for us today.
Yeah, absolutely. So how you guys doing?
Doing okay, actually, I think. We have a lot of things going on, but...
As we record this, we're getting ready for spring, and that's the beginning of our new season. So everything is really just about to jump off for us.
Oh, good.
It's the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, like, how'd you guys meet?
I guess I'll go for this one. This was, I guess, 2009, so quite some time ago. And we were both on OkCupid. And Japheth sent me a message, being an absolute smartass. So I don't know if anybody really uses OkCupid anymore, but they used to be all these questions that you could fill out, and then like you would compare them to like other people's answers and see if you got the same answer. So I entered an incorrectly like word association thing.
Yeah.
And so he picked up on it and decided to tell me about it. Yeah. And then what I did was like, well, let me see who this asshole is. And I looked at his page, and he was super cute, and still is. Super, super cute. And he was wearing, Halloween had just happened, and he was Cyclops, X-Men Cyclops.
Fire.
Which is my absolute favorite X-Men, male version.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, he lives in New Jersey.
Oh,
God damn it. I was like, and I was living in Queens, and I was like, all right, one day let's go on one date. Let's just do it, you know? And we went on a date at this place called Shulbreads in Manhattan. It's near like Union Square area.
Okay.
We closed the bar down.
Yeah.
The owners let us stay. The owners were these like older, like Italian guys. I don't know. And they were like playing cards in the front of the bar. And they're like, you guys can hang out. And so we stayed out, and then we were going to go get a drink somewhere. They're like, no, just serve yourself behind the bar. So we did that until about 3 a.m. It was at this point, it was like Monday morning because we had the date then. And you slept at Penn Station, I think, that night?
I did have to go back to Jersey, and there were no trains to Jersey at that point. So I had kind of expected to do it, though, and so it wasn't too big a deal.
Yeah.
If you live in Jersey, you've probably slept at Penn Station.
That's what happens.
I live up here. I've slept plenty of times at Penn Station.
Exactly.
It happens.
Exactly.
It happens.
But yeah, that is how we met. And then we went on a series of really rapid fire dates. And you asked me to be your girlfriend on our third date, I think. I think so.
We were a little bit older at the time. You know, I was in my late 20s.
Yeah, I think you were like...
And like by that point, I kind of knew what I was looking for. And, you know, you find something good, you lock it down.
Yeah. Yeah, you asked her to go study.
True. He did. He did.
Oh, it's awesome.
And we've been together ever since. You know, we got married really quickly after that. I mean, everybody thought we were having a baby because it happened so fast. We're like, oh, no.
Were they trying to explain?
Yeah.
It's like, they're together. Oh, that's what.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That must be the
Something
reason.
like that.
Not because they're into each other.
Yeah, not because you guys actually like each other.
No.
God forbid.
Yeah. So.
Jeez. So, Queens, Jersey, but yet we're here upstate New York at Youngsville. How did that happen for you guys?
It was a coincidence of a bunch of things. We actually stopped in this area on a day trip further up to New York many years ago because there was a craft brewery we wanted to check out. So we didn't think much of it after that, other than it was a great stop. And then a few years later, her parents, who had been living on Long Island, they were ready to retire, or semi-retire at least. They found some property up here, and we came to check it out with them. It was an amazing piece of land with waterfalls and forests.
Oh, wow.
And beautiful, beautiful. And a house that was designed to only be lived in the summer, which is not that uncommon up here.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's plenty of those. Yeah.
And they moved into it full time. There's, like no insulation in this house. So we spent a lot of time coming up here, helping them winterize and get set up. And this area is very different than Long Island, where they came from. And we just kept coming up here and seeing more and more opportunity. We known that we always wanted to do some type of business. Basically, since we've been together, we've always had some type of hospitality or restaurant or something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the time that her parents came up here, we had already, I think, had a pretty clear idea that we were looking into like a cidery business.
Yeah, we were definitely at that point, knew that it was going to happen, but it was going to be part of an older plan for us. So
Yeah.
our feeling was like, okay, so by the time, I hit 45, we'll be able to do this. Like,
Right.
we're going to do it. Like then.
Yeah.
So like a semi-retirement kind of plan. It's like, you know what? This will be fun when we're like done doing the real
Yeah,
shit.
working for the man.
Part of it
Exactly.
was like trying to get out of
Exactly.
corporate, basically. Trying to
yeah.
get out of our corporate careers completely. Although I'm still in mine.
Well, long story short, coming up here, for me, it was exactly like coming home because I grew up in northwestern New Jersey, which is a lot like here.
Yeah.
And for her, it was like going to a new world. It's very different than Queens, but we both fell in love with the area, and the opportunities here were just so much different than Queens. So we were like, why not? Let's jump on it and let's not wait until retirement. Let's do it now.
Yeah, and you guys were lived in Queens for a while, like before moving up here, right?
I was there with her for just under 10 years, and you're born and raised.
Yeah. So I've been there for a very long time. But I did do a stint on Long Island for a bit when my parents moved out there. And I went to university at Stony Brook University on Long Island. Oh, okay. So, but my home is always Queens. It's Queens.
And Japheth, where'd you go to school?
I went to Kittatinny High School, which is a little bitty high school, and then Fairleigh Dickinson University, all North Jersey stuff. FDU is like Central Jersey. There's actually a train there, which is how I was able to get into the city.
That's true.
That's
I
awesome.
think we're familiar. We're familiar with the train systems and all that. Definitely had to take a couple of those to go into the city. But going on that, so you guys are kind of transplants up here because there was no family up here. But as we know from the first time we came up here, slowly we've been seeing the families kind of coming up here and all that. I don't know if you guys want to talk, but I know you guys have a new niece.
We do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, Luna Nova Eaton.
Yeah.
And she
Love that
is
name.
precious, and she's my first niece. So I only have one brother, which you guys have, I believe, met.
Yeah, we
Nick.
met
You
Nick.
guys have met Nick. And she's I think 4 months now.
4 months yesterday.
Yeah, and we've been doing a lot with that. We go there like 2 days a week, and babysitting while they're working and stuff like that to help out with them. And she's the best.
Yeah, basically Michelle's whole family has transplanted up here now. And it's interesting because they were not all together previously.
Yeah.
So her parents moved up here, and then we were coming up literally every weekend and then every other weekend to help them get set up. They also have a glamping business going, so Michelle was a big part of that. And it just didn't make sense anymore to stay in the city, so we came up here. And I would say then within the year, Nick and Jen came out here from.
Yes.
They were Pittsburgh at the time.
They were in Pittsburgh then. Yeah.
Okay.
So they moved
wow,
out here.
That's a long drive.
It was a big
Yeah.
jump. It was a big jump. It's been really wonderful having a lot of family all in one place. I didn't have anything like that growing up, especially in an area like this where you need people. You need to rely on other people to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Whether it's just getting rides to places or providing childcare or
Yeah, yeah.
these kind of things.
Yeah.
It's not like the city where you can hop on a subway and go where
Just
you
get
need to
over,
go.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, speaking to the crier, brother.
yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, and I think it's kind of funny. Like we met a bunch of your family the first day we actually came here too.
Yes.
Yeah, like we met your mom and your dad, and we were like,
Yeah.
oh, wow,
like everyone
this
just
is
shows
awesome.
up.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like even I think. Ironically, we closed out the place that day. Like we
Yeah,
were
that
chilling
was
with you
right,
guys,
yeah.
and then like your mom and dad showed up and were like, "Oh, hey," And I think your mom brought like a really good food that was in the back. And like,
Oh,
you guys
it was the
popped in and out.
kimbap.
Yes.
So yeah, kimbap is a Korean dish that looks a lot like sushi, although it's not sushi, but it's a rolled like with kelp on the outside, rice on the inside. But usually the stuff inside is stuffed with like cooked items. So it could be like some like sauteed carrots, some bulgogi, which is beef, put inside. Did you guys have any that day? I don't even remember.
I felt like I was intruding at that point.
No, I think much like today, I had a show after. So
Oh yeah,
had a
right.
show.
That's
You
I
right.
did have a show that I had to go up to after. So it was like,
Yeah.
I think we had the jerky. And
Yes.
then,
And that would have been from Van Smokey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
maybe one too many flights
Yeah.
for myself.
Yeah. And you're half Korean and
And I guess white.
white. Good answer. Yeah. Caucasian.
Caucasian. So my mother is from South Korea, and she immigrated here while just after she married my father and was pregnant with me.
Oh wow.
And then my dad is from like rural Illinois area, so like Romeoville, not too far from like Chicago, basically. And he was in the military, and they met there.
Okay.
And then that's how that started, basically.
Yeah.
So like my dad is Eastern European.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
like
He's
English
white.
and Welsh, and he's Scottish, and he's all of those
yeah.
things.
We prefer European mutt.
European.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And Japheth, you're just
European mutt.
European. But like just before we started, like I'm gonna put you on the spot now. Just before we started, you said like, "Oh, I'm giving you the short version of my name." So what's the full name?
My the name on my legal documents
Yeah.
is Japheth Matthew Shaldenet Fitzpatrick.
Dude, that's an awesome name.
Thank you. I didn't have any say in any of it.
It's just too much though, because we both talked about hyphenating our names when we got married,
Right.
And when we went down to the courthouse in Queens, in I think it's Kew Gardens, but they told me that I had to take his full name, and I'm like, I'm not gonna have 3 last names.
No.
This is ridiculous.
At that
I was
time-
like, sound like a senator's wife. Could you imagine Michelle Eaton Shaldenot Fitzpatrick? It's too much.
At that time, it was actually more insult to injury because we still had the old cards from like the 90s, and they couldn't fit all of those names.
Oh, and the spelling was
So
wrong.
the spelling
It was
on
cut off.
the spelling on the card was Shaldenet Fitzpa.
So they said, yes, that's
And
right.
the court literally told us when we were signing the marriage documents that if she wanted to take my name, she would be legally Shaldenet Fitzpa.
Fitzpa.
even though there was room for more of this stuff.
Yeah. So no.
Oh my.
Yeah, we decided right then and there because I looked at him. I was like, I am absolutely not doing that. I was like, this is ridiculous. I didn't even really want to change my name in the first place. So I was like, we're keeping it as Michelle Eaton.
Yeah,
It's one of those, I love you, but.
Yeah.
This is an unorthodox relationship, and it's why it's
We
why
are.
it's worked.
Yeah.
Maybe not unorthodox, just not maybe more non-traditional.
Yeah.
I do
think you
the
guys are
cling,
more-
she makes the money, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I think you guys are more modern now.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe that,
maybe like I know when we were younger, there was that like thing of like, okay, you're gonna go to prom, you're gonna marry your high school sweetheart, and all. We're not living in those times.
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
anybody
definitely
that's
not.
still looking
Definitely
for that fairy
not,
tale
yeah.
ending,
Yeah.
more props to you.
Good luck.
I think we all live in the real world. and all
Yeah,
that.
I mean, even when me and my wife were talking about getting married, and she said like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna take your last name," I was like, "What?" Because like I know her by her maiden name. Like that's what I call her at home.
course, yeah.
Like literally, still this day, I still hey Crows. Like that's
Okay.
how I've heard her. But she said, ironically, she was like, I want an easy last name because Crows sometimes becomes hard to explain to
Fair.
people.
Yeah.
I can see
So,
that. I
yeah.
can see that.
So no, I never took any offense that she didn't want the mess of a name I had. I was not trying to saddle her with that.
It wasn't going to happen.
But touching on all this, you know, we've talked about the family, and like I said, when we first came here, we pretty much got an intro to most of your family right then and there. It's clear how important family is to this business as a whole. Like your brother Nick, he was the one serving us at the time. Didn't get to meet Joseph. Wow, I'm gonna Japheth. There we go. See, this is why you do the names.
Yep.
I run the interviews.
It's my whole life, guys.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no,
That's
seriously.
cool.
Yeah.
But like just seeing the whole family aspect of it. So like I guess my question to you guys is how important is family to you guys, maybe not just as a business, but just in a sense as a whole for making this all work?
I mean, in our sense, so we consider our very, very close like friends too, our legacy friends, like, a big part of our families too, outside of the immediate family. So for us, it is such a big deal. Forthright wouldn't even be possible without it. Absolutely not. Even though like the change up here and things are a little bit less expensive, not so much now, but 4 or 5 years ago, it was a little bit better. So it's definitely a much more sustainable option for us than staying in Queens. But for us, like it really would not be possible without the help. This whole place was just an empty warehouse. Japheth's, all of your friends came up, our families came up to build the cold room and everything around here.
Wow. Yeah.
So even the bar, even like all of it, all the construction was done by our friends and family, and who are our family. So for us, it's and they're so supportive, and we're really, really fortunate for that. So I don't think there's anything above that for us at this point.
And we continue to rely on them. I mean, there would literally be no Forthright without our family. They tend bar. They go and help me run markets and events. They help me do projects here. They help me do bottling runs and kegging and all that kind of stuff. And the main reason they do all this is because we are very, very small. We're a nano business, and we decided we could either do this business with our friends and family, or we could do this business with like $250,000 in loans and investors.
Yeah.
And we talked about before, we wanted to get away from corporate life. We wanted to get away from those type of controls. Why would I start my own business but sign myself up for that type of oversight? No way. So we decided to go with it as small as possible, knowing that we had such supportive friends and family that were going to help us get started and get up and running. So, there's no way to really talk about Forthright without talking about how much we've relied on our friends and family. And now is the time where we're looking for ways to try and give back to them as well. Forthright needs to grow to be something that everybody can take advantage of, and it'll benefit all the people that have put in their time and effort with us.
Yeah. So you guys have that Solidarity Cyder?
Yeah, Solidarity Cyder is a program that we have started with the start of the company. Basically, is that we wanted it to be hyper local and be able to help people and or other organizations within the right now we're mostly focusing on Sullivan County. So we have worked with our local 4-H, with Cornell Cooperative down the road here in Liberty. We've also worked with a couple of TNRs for doing trap and release of feral cats in the area. We go all across, but a lot of
we
our
did a
things,
coat and scarf drive last winter.
we did a coat and scarf drive.
We raised money for the Heartathon.
The Heartathon was another one. And the part of it is that it's really important. A lot of people, we understand this. We are transplants. We are not from here. We're definitely not born and bred. We are from New York City, where people sometimes up here like to call us Cityots. And even though we've been here about 5 years, it still doesn't completely matter. So we wanted to make sure, and a lot of business owners in this area will open up a business, but do nothing for their community at all. And they're more involved in worrying about the dollars of weekenders. And I'm not saying that that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking, of course we want to make money, but it's important to be able to give back to your immediate area and be a part of it, which I think has been really helpful in us, like meeting a lot of people and kind of growing this understanding of what we're trying to do here, without just like coming in here and trying to gentrify your area.
Right.
We're not trying to do that. We're trying to be involved with you. We know our neighbors. We try to and that's really important to us. And that's kind of what Solidarity Cyder is kind of all about.
Yeah.
We, again, going back to the experiences of corporate, we have worked surrounded by so much greed that's like built into the system. It's not even any one particular person's fault. It's just, that's the idea of the business. Make as much money as possible and screw anything else. And we knew, again, that if we were going to have our own way and do our own thing, we couldn't be a part of that. This can't just be for us. So we knew we wanted to, from the beginning, set up some way to give back. We decided to call it Solidarity Cyder instead of charity, because solidarity is more about supporting equals, whereas charity, by definition, is like giving to people who are not as good as you.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a play on words.
Who have less than you.
wanted like an equal plane. Solidarity is more working together than charity is like, it's not.
Yeah.
There's nothing bad with it, but it's just the aspect we were trying to
The
cover.
difference in semantics.
Yeah.
in
but
that
also
sense.
in an intention. Also
yeah,
an
I guess
intention.
into an intention, yeah.
and it's really worked out wonderfully because by trying to be a part of our community, we've made so many more connections with people. We've been introduced to so many more groups and organizations, which in turn have let us do other things with them. It's exactly what we hoped it would be. We're just going to try and make it bigger and bigger.
Yeah. And what's really cool,
No.
what's really cool is whenever I do come in here, it's a mix. Sometimes I'll see people fly like, oh, yeah, where are you from? It's like, oh, I'm from, Queens. But then it's like, oh, no, I'm right down the road, man. I'm just grabbing a quick one before I go out and back. So it's I believe it's working in your favor because you get the locals and you get the people that are just visiting the area. So
And that is exactly our goal.
Yeah.
We came here to take advantage of the area and what we could do here, but we also wanted to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud to say we get all kinds of people coming through the doors. Doesn't matter where you're from. Most people still don't know what Cyder is.
I was going to say, I might as well just bring it up now. Before I stepped foot in here, I had never had a Mead. My only knowledge of Mead was, if you ever played the game Skyrim and all that, that
course.
was my only knowledge of Mead. So I thought it was like some Viking moonshine or something. So the first time I had it, I was like, damn, this is tasty. This is very different and all that.
It's all very tasty. It's all very tasty. Very tasty.
But I did want to say, I think what you guys are doing, because we did touch on like the transplants and a lot of people that come up during the summer, I think that's where you guys have integrated yourselves into the community better of actually reaching out. Because, living up here, there's always the talk of the summer people who come up.
The
and
city
just do that. Yeah. That is just like, oh, we don't want to deal with them. And then there's a certain stigma because, growing up in New York, let's face it, if you go anywhere else in New York and you say you're from New York, they instantly think city. They don't realize there's a whole nother part of New York around here.
Absolutely.
It's very different. So it's commendable that you guys have came in and it's like, all right, yeah, we want to make something of ourselves, but we also want to show that we're not your stereotypical city people just coming up here to try and milk the cow for the summer and then go back to our city lives.
It's a good analogy for up here, too.
Gonna have to use that.
But no, I've, like I said, it's been a wonderful experience to actually get to talk to you guys and see all this. But I keep looking at these bottles. I keep looking at them. I don't know. You getting a little thirsty,
I'm
bro?
incredibly thirsty.
You getting a little thirsty?
I'm incredibly thirsty.
They're not here just to look at.
I know. I think we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll probably go up and do some of the drinking.
That
Sounds
sounds
good
great.
to
Let's
me.
do it.
Let's do it.
And we're back, everybody, and we are here at my favorite part of the show, the drinking section. Woo! Now, Keenan will handle more. That's fucking, I love it. This is why. Keenan's going to handle some of the more minute details, as he is, home brewer himself. I will handle the alcoholism part. So we'll be all covered in all that. But, guys, why don't you introduce us to the first drink that we will be trying out?
So the first thing you guys are going to try is Boss Fight. This is our flagship. It is a style called Cyder. Cyder is made from apples and honey fermented together. So it's kind of a hybrid between hard cider and mead. Cyder is our specialty here at Forthright. So this one, we really wanted to make something very accessible. It's semi-dry, crisp, a lot of real apple flavor in there. 7% alcohol means you could probably have a couple.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the goal.
Yeah.
That's
love
delicious.
This was actually the first one that I had when I came in here, and I think you guys said specifically that's the one for like people who may have never had it before or something. This is a good entry point. So
Absolutely, yeah.
And is that where the Y comes from in cider?
Partially so, yeah. So in our name, we have cider spelled with a Y for two reasons. One, because Cyder was our first real specialty for the brand, but also because cider with a Y is a more traditional spelling of the word. Mm-hmm. And in this country, when people see cider, C-I-D-E-R, often they think fresh juice.
Right.
yeah.
So by putting the Y in there, people are already thinking, hey, there's something different going on in here. And they come in and they ask about it, and I can say, okay, well, let me tell you. cider used to be the most popular alcoholic beverage in this country. And it was all the way up until Prohibition, and now we've completely forgotten about it.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
No, I didn't either. Well, we're bringing it back.
That's right.
Me and Tom individually are gonna bring back the whole cider
We
business
will.
in New York.
I think that's the one I usually, the times I've come here, I've left with one of those. And I'm not going to lie, it did not make it through the night.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Did not.
That's what we want. I've always liked things that taste as they're described. So if it's made from apples and honey, I want you guys to be able to appreciate apples and honey in the finished product.
Yeah. And you guys came to a great area because we're in apple country.
Absolutely. New York State is, I think it is the #1 producer of apples on the East Coast. It might be like second or third in the country.
Second.
Second in the
After
country.
Washington State.
Oh, okay.
And honey as well, we're a big producer.
Yeah, we're a huge producer. I think we're #1 in the Northeast. And in the United States, we're at least in like the top 3, I believe.
Oh wow.
A lot is made here.
Wonderful.
Jeez, apples and honey. So those are the main two things that I think I learned at the first time I came. Those are the two main things.
Those are basically the only things.
Those are the only things.
Basically the only things. I'll let Jay, he can talk about a little bit about on the yeast and stuff.
We use a yeast to ferment the sugars and alcohol, and we use some final preservatives to keep it from blowing up in your hands.
Yeah, we don't want bottle bombs.
But other than that, it's just apples and honey.
That's awesome.
The simple things you can make. You know what? It's better than a toilet wine that you can make in prison.
There you go.
We'll go to that. But moving on. Moving on. Let's move on to the next one, which is...
The next one is Helen. So that is a new from this past year. That is a bone dry Cyder. So also apples and honey. So it's completely bone dry. And then after it's done, it is aged on oak spirals.
It is smoky. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to get some kind of like vanilla notes, a little bit of like kind of like a burnt kind of like spice notes out of it
Yeah.
too.
I definitely get that. Yeah.
If you're a fan of oak Chardonnays, this is definitely going to speak to that style
Absolutely.
as well. Yeah, we use wooden spirals instead of oak barrels because they're way more cost efficient and also a lot more useful in terms of creating the product at the rate that we need to.
And is it like an American oak? Like what type of oak is it?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. We use medium American oak chars.
Yeah, that's with the vanilla. I was wondering where the vanilla was coming from. But
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
There she is. Yeah.
Yeah. You taste it. You taste it.
Now, I guess with that, you have the Helen and the Boss Fight. The names. Names are always important.
Yeah.
I think in branding and all that. How'd you guys come up with those names?
Well, Boss Fight kind of represents a lot of things. The Boss Fight's the final battle in a video game. I grew up playing a lot of video games. This business, in a lot of ways, is our boss fight because if it works, we don't have to have a boss anymore. So that was really the big inspiration behind that. And then Helen, I actually named after my mom. She was a big fan of oak Chardonnay, so I think she really would have liked this style.
And sorry that your mom's no longer with us, by the way.
Thanks, man.
But that kind of ties into what we were talking about before, how you really couldn't do this without family. It's nice that you have a nod to your mom, right?
She was, she was always my biggest supporter. So I knew we'd want to honor her in some way, and I think she would have really liked this style.
Yeah, I really like this style.
Thank you. Yeah, everybody needs a really dry option, and this is the first one we've come up with. So it's still a Cyder, still apples and honey, aged on that oak to give you just that little bit of spice and a little bit of vanilla to sweeten it up, even though there's no sugar in there.
Right. So, going real technical, so wouldn't it be like also like a metheglin, if you will?
No
spices
in here.
Just no spices.
Just a little bit of spicy flavor from the oak.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice mead terminology, though.
I read the books. I read a couple of books.
Someone did his studying.
That's
Someone did some studying for it and all that.
I didn't actually know what a Cyder was until after I made my first one as a home brewer.
Oh, really?
And really liked what I'd made. I was just, putting honey in cider. I was like, wow, this one turned out really good. And it was one of the first ones we shared with our friends and family.
It took 9 months to make.
Yeah.
That was
it
because I
was
didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But it was really, really good.
It doesn't take 9 months anymore.
Actually, how long does it take you guys to ferment?
Boss Fight's a good example. We can go from fresh pressed juice and honey to what's in the bottle in about 6 weeks.
It's a pro, ladies and gentlemen. I've been making mead for not very long. It's been, I've made like, no, seriously, I haven't been making it that long. But like, it takes me like 6 to 9 months for a decent one.
It's about temper control.
That's where I started too. I can give you some
Yes.
pointers for
Yeah,
sure. For sure.
absolutely.
Oh, he's gonna be taking these notes after. Trust me.
So,
I always say I like the boss fights, like the fun. Hey, I'm going out. I'm gonna do that. The Helen's the more sophisticated. Like I feel like I feel slightly underdressed for to drink and sometimes,
Okay.
but it's like that more sophisticated.
It's really, really good with grilled fish.
Oh, is it? Grilled
Really
fish.
good.
yes,
grilled fish.
of course,
Really
of course. You get that double smoke, that char, that
It's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So these two are slicers, right?
Sizers, apple honey wines. Yep.
Are
And
these
now
slicers or
those two on the end there are meads.
okay?
Oh, we're
We
getting
are
into the
Forthright cider
actual
and mead,
meads.
Yes.
so we're going to be leaning into the meads a lot this year. These two are actually collaborations we made with a friend of ours down in Philly, a guy who was working on getting ready to open up his own very small business the same way we did. So a lot of common ground, a lot of shared interests. So we partnered up last summer to work on these two styles.
Yeah. So we've been working. We met Drew Horn from Crumb Dubs Meadery. So he's a startup in Philadelphia. Hopefully he'll have a place sometime soon. Met him through a mutual friend who was like, "You make mead. Y'all should meet." And Philadelphia is only about 3-ish hours from here. So we were Instagram friends for a while, and then we talked about doing a collaboration. And Drew came up in July of 2021 for 2 days, and he brought some products from Pennsylvania. We used our New York State honey to make this. We got beets actually from Somewhere in Time Farms, which is like 15 minutes down the road from here in Parksville, New York.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so we're really, really happy with this, and we had a really fun time. A big hospitality night, as you do when you work in the beverage industry.
Yeah.
So we had such a fun time doing that with him, and we hope to do it again, actually.
So it's a real collaboration of local stuff from here and stuff down by him. The first one you're going to try is our lactic cherry mead, kind of like a lemonade or a limoncello. We're talking about 12.5% alcohol, so a lot stronger on these. I call them semi-sweet, but a lot sweeter than our sizers.
Oh yeah.
Shit, I got a show tonight.
Yeah. So, folks, every once in a while you drink something and it's like, oh man, it's one of those times.
Yeah.
Because you get it comes off like as soft as a soda. Like there's none of that harshness. And like if you told me that was 12%, I think you're lying to me because it's so. It's soft, but it's also spicy and punchy and bold with the flavors. Because you said there's what in here?
So we used a special yeast that Drew brought up from Philadelphia. The University of Philadelphia created this lactic yeast brand. So that's given you a lot of the tartness to it. There's also a lot of cherry in there and lemon as well. And then we did that on the base of Catskills honey.
Wow, this is.
Yeah, this is trouble.
Yeah.
This is trouble. That's all I can say. This is something that like, yeah, I don't know if I buy one of these like with the boss fight. This is not making it through the night.
It's amazing.
I like it over ice. I like it mixed in as cocktails. That one goes really nicely with a rum or a gin, in my opinion. But basically anything you like, mix it up and see what happens.
Yeah.
Game over, kid.
Yeah,
Game
you
over.
had me at
You
gin.
said the magic 3-letter word.
Club soda.
But also, I think with a little bit of seltzer, like, cause honestly, I don't want to mess this up with gin type of thing. So this one's really nice, and it's not as syrupy as soda. Cause I want to kind of pull back a little bit. It's not soda. It definitely reads more drinkable than soda. Cause sometimes soda's so
Definitely.
viscous and have a lot of legs.
Yeah.
This has some legs, but it's not too bad, and it just goes down smooth.
Yeah, that's the key word. It goes down smooth. That is like, there's no harshness or anything. Like
Not at all.
12%.
Yeah. It feels like me, honestly. That's what it feels like.
The first mead I ever had growing up was at the Renaissance Fair, and I think that's a very like well-known style. It's super sweet, but mead is just alcohol made from honey, so you can do all kinds of things with it. It can be sweet, it can be dry, high alcohol, low alcohol, by itself, blended with so many other fruits, vegetables, spices, anything you can think of. It's super versatile.
Yeah. So would you say that you lean more towards traditional meads, or would you do more sack meads, which are like the higher ABVs, or what type of meads do you think are you guys gonna focus on this year?
We have two styles that are kind of becoming flagships. Excelsior is a draft mead style,
Right.
so it actually comes out more around 7%, which is what the Cyders usually are. A lot more sessionable in that sense. We also have our house sack mead, which we call Potion of Glory.
I have not had that.
Potion
You
of
will
Glory.
next time you guys
Next
come
time
up.
it's coming
Okay.
up.
That's
I
a
was like-
14%
I was like, please-
straight honey
I'm
wine.
like, please let that be in stock. Please let that be in stock. Please let
Keena starts looking at
Sorry,
the list.
man.
He's
Next
like,
time.
Whoa. Oh, you guys didn't tell me that before we started recording?
Yeah. So for me to show off, I guess. So you mostly have like mellow mells for the drafts, and I'm so glad he's like impressed by it. Like I'm trying to show off. It's working.
If you want to get nerdy with mead and cider
I
names,
think the two of you are like connected like this. The two of us are just looking at each other like, yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. I like that.
But no, you said nerdy and melomels and sack meats. So what was the like how do you guys plan out the year? Like, do you guys think like, oh, we have X amount of melomels, or oh, we have X amount of traditional meads? Maybe we should throw in some, more Cyder or more. So how is there like a process?
do you want to
guys
talk
have?
about like seasonality?
Yeah, I can take that. So a lot of it is about seasonality. So we're looking at what is being locally grown at that moment that we can get fresh. Sometimes frozen depending on where we have to get it, because we source all of our products from mostly New York State. So we have a New York State farm cidery license, basically. That license is for smaller producers like us. But you have to use 100% New York State apples, which is not a problem. And same thing for the mead, you have to use New York State honey. The other ingredients that we use, what we try to do is hyper local, or at least New York State as possible. If it is not grown or made in New York State, so like last summer we had a mango cider. You cannot make mangoes here. I mean,
Right.
maybe in a hothouse, but not as many as we would need.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when it's like that, then we just try to find something that is organically produced to do it that way. But we do a really big focus on that. So I will say though, at this point, because we're still pretty new, we haven't been planning as well. Sometimes what we'll do is be like, an idea will come up, and I'll be like, ooh, I want to do blank and blank, or see what that tastes like. Let's like make a 5-gallon batch and see how that tastes. Or we'll talk with friends. We've had friends where we're saying like, what are like flavor combinations that you would like? We've opened it up to customers too, just to like get an ear out on that. So as we get bigger and have to scale, we probably will have to work a little bit better on planning our production.
Right.
As opposed to being as ad hoc as we have been. We're doing a little bit better now. We need to get a little bit more equipment though.
But it's funny though, because a lot of even the bigger brewers in the area, they're ad hoc. Like some of the
Like something comes out and you're just like, let's do it. This is delicious.
but that's honestly I think the way to go. I know nothing about business, but we know that it's all about the ingredients. If you don't have good
Exactly.
ingredients, you're not going to have a good end product.
Exactly.
So the more locally grown it can be, then kudos to you guys. This is
That's
awesome.
and that's kind of the way we have been figuring out what we want to make and how we want to make it. We spent about 4 to 5 years perfecting Boss Fight as amateur homebrewers. So that is our strength, and it also gives us something to confidently lean on while we experiment with stranger things. Last summer we did a Boss Fight variant, which was a smoked Cyder with Van Smokey's, a local smokehouse in the area. Smoked Cyder is a very strange and specific flavor style, but we could do that because we had regular Boss Fight on tap as well. So that's kind of how we play with things.
Yeah.
And then, like Michelle said, very seasonal. So, if we harvest cherries in the summer, we know we're going to have a cherry Cyder around the holidays.
Exactly.
Okay.
I was about to say, all I'm hearing is that your guys' place is awesome for the holidays. 'Cause I am sure you got little
Yeah, we've
things
done
that
a
you
couple
like.
things.
That's where the
Yeah.
testing goes out.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Holidays, Christmas is awesome.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
But I guess let's touch on this last one.
Yeah.
This,
Okay, so
blueberry?
that last one is a beet, blueberry, and lemon mead. Also, another collaboration we did. The beets are local. They're grown 15 minutes from here in Parksville at Somewhere in Time Farms. The honey comes from New York, and I really wanted to do. I think the beet was me actually. 'Cause
This is
I've
your
been
recipe for sure.
Wanting to do a beet mead forever.
Listen to Michelle.
I still think there's some playing around to do with it because it is technically first batch. But I'm really, really happy with that.
Listen
like the
to
color and like the thickness of it. There's a bit of like bite and viscosity to it that I really, really like. It's very earthy.
Yeah. And what's the ABV on this one?
That's only 12.
Only 12 guys.
The
It's
other one
only
was
12
and a half.
Only 12.
No, this one, same thing. Like, I mean, I'll let you go first. 'Cause I'm
Oh no,
just
this
gonna-
I can see the thickness. Well, tasted the thickness of it and all that. It's definitely I think definitely the difference that you can do that. I do think your meads definitely go down very smooth.
nice
There's
to
no
hear.
little, usually when there's something that high in alcohol
not too
content,
sharp.
Get a burn.
you start getting that, and it's like you don't taste it right away, but you'll feel it. You'll feel it right after and all that. But this is like I said, this is dangerous. I'm glad I don't drive.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, to all of that. And it's, again, the same thing. It has the right amount of, I want to say viscosity, but that's like too technical. There's too much, there it is. There's not too much body to this one.
Definitely.
Like, it's not like over to where it's like syrupy. Because like if it did, it would straight up turn to tussin. You know, like
Yes.
it's just too.
Yes.
Sure.
Let a tussin
Tussin?
sink in, boy. No,
Rub it on your elbows.
but no, it doesn't have that medicinal like over too much flavor.
It's
just
still
the
a
right
drink,
amount.
not a
Yeah.
syrup.
Definitely.
Yeah,
That's ultimately the thing. Like when we were looking at like the glasses and we were saying, no, it's like this actually looks like it's just a honey jar that we
Yeah.
just got or something. But when you drink it, it's like no, you're not trying to chuck down honey.
Yeah.
You're still drinking, and it's still a good time.
And that also goes for this one too. Like it's cherry, but it's not like Robitussin cherry.
Right.
It tastes like you're tasting cherries, and you get that lemon tartness. It's really just all of this. Yes.
All of that, yes.
Sweetness is a dangerous weapon. It's in my opinion, it's more dangerous than alcohol volume. Sweetness is critical to any recipe you're making, but it can also really be a crutch that people lean on when the ingredients aren't maybe as fresh or as flavorful as possible. So I always try to keep that in mind. So even our meads, which obviously are on the sweeter side, they shouldn't be overpoweringly sweet because then you're just missing out on everything else that's in there.
Yeah. The sweetness, that's always it makes me think of my college years of just making hooch in my college room or something and just like, how are we going to make this taste good? Give me the sugar mix, give me the mix and all that. And then the next day, the sugar hangover.
Listen, you can drink Everclear with a bottle of orange juice.
Look, man, you're acting like I haven't. What do you think I was making the hooch with?
I'm
said-
speaking from experience.
Yeah.
You can do it.
My man. I like it. Found it up right there. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. And sorry, I didn't even talk about the fact that this is very earthy too, but like not like in a bad way either. Because sometimes I like when you eat a beet, it's like it's a salad, but it's like a little bit dirty. But this is like you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
You're laughing because you know exactly what I mean. Because it's
We
like
gotta clean your beads.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
gotta get
but
the
like-
dirt off of them.
But like it's not too overpowering. Like everything's just a lot of good balance.
That's the
Earthiness.
trick. That's
Yeah.
the trick to find.
And you said the beets were locally grown too.
Yeah.
Right?
Farm right on the other side of here, about 15 minutes away. The blueberries came from Pennsylvania. Drew brought them up from down by
Yeah.
here.
That's what it is. The blueberries too. That blueberry beet mixture. Two things I wouldn't put together.
That's Michelle.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that. It's like blueberries, yeah. But I mean, the beets is like, where's that coming from? But made it work.
There you go. Another rule we have here is that if it has sugar, it's fermentable.
And
So
beets are super sweet. Like there's so much sugar in them.
if it has sugar, why not try it out in some way?
Exactly.
So you guys kind of like hinted at it. There's a lot of experimentation and
Oh,
like little
yeah.
fun had and all that.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. We both came at this from Michelle really likes to experiment with home cooking. I've been a home brewer for many years. And frankly, there's never been a better time to open like a business like this, but there are also a lot of cideries around now. So if we want to stick out, if we want to be recognizable, we have to experiment with different flavors and do different things.
you guys are definitely unique in that regard, because I know I've never had anything like Helen's Oak, and I only ever had anything like this beet and blueberry one. It's just fantastic.
Thank you, man. Happy to have you guys trying them for the first time.
And you guys are still working out the names for these, right?
Yeah.
So those were special collaborations. They may never be repeated.
Really? You think so? 'Cause I still want to. Well, there might be. So I think there's going to be some experimentation with them and to play with a couple of things afterwards. But I do think, like, at least for me, I still want to play with the beat one.
Yeah.
I didn't say the ingredients would never be seen again.
But those specific,
These
Yeah.
specifics
These
are
specifics.
probably
Like-
one-offs.
Yeah, those
So
are one-offs, yeah.
how much of these two do you have?
Oh.
Like, because I want to buy it.
It's like, if that's the case,
Yeah.
sorry, folks. If you're
they're
looking for
sold
one
out.
of those,
They're sold out.
you're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to hit up Kip Turner on Instagram and Twitter.
And I'm price gouging, not because like I want to make a profit, because I want to drink it.
That is another cool thing about Forthright, though. Because we're so small, we do change up stuff very frequently. There's a good chance that when folks see this stuff, this lineup won't be available, but we will have things that are just as interesting.
Yeah.
And probably more seasonal.
Yep, the ones that are always here, Boss Fight and
Yes.
Helen.
Boss Fight, Helen, those are flagships. They should be here as long as I don't mess something up.
If they're not here, something went wrong at the home brew.
That's correct.
Either that or me and Tom and Dave were here and we bought them all
Cleared
out. So, yeah.
No, I do enjoy it. Now, you guys are going to go more into the meads and all that and all that. Now, we've talked about all these wonderful creations that you made. Have there been some failures? We don't have to go into all of them,
no.
but like maybe give us like a one that you were like, I think this is going to be awesome, and then you did it, and you're like, there's something, it's just not working out.
Well,
See which one he says.
I have to be honest. Like, I learned how to do all of this from Reddit and YouTube. So the learning curve there was pretty steep. And when I say that, I mean, like, I've learned from countless other people, literally countless. I don't know who they are. It's the internet. It's anonymous. But they were people that taught me how to do it. But it's a steep learning curve. The first, I don't know, 2 years that I was doing this, I never let anybody taste it.
Yeah.
Because it was way more vinegar than cider. It was really bad, which taught me many, many important lessons at the time period. In terms of things that have gone poorly here,
She's giving you a look. This
No,
entire,
I
I said,
I'm just really curious as well.
she's
we
like,
haven't had a style mess up here so much as we've had production hiccups. Like when I don't tighten a clamp right and I pump 30 gallons of cider onto the floor. Or we overload the system and I don't know about it and the cold room shuts down and the fermentations stop working.
Yeah.
It's been a lot more of those things, I think. But, we keep doing as best we can. We keep getting bigger. We keep trying to learn from our mistakes. And we haven't made the same ones twice yet.
yeah, good call. Good call on that.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, like, for people that you talked about how like a lot of people are opening businesses, and like for a lot of people, they're like, yeah, you know what? I think I want to make my own brewery and stuff like that.
Sure.
I don't think a lot of people consider just how much trial and error, how much it's a time consuming thing, and it's a full commitment.
Absolutely.
Full commitment.
Full
and-
send.
Yeah.
You got to think about most large professional companies have huge budgets just developed to figuring out their processes.
Just an
and
R&D,
procedures.
like their own
Yeah.
R&D, basically.
Exactly.
Their own
Yeah.
standard operating procedures. We don't have those kind of things, so we've definitely had to learn on the fly. The one thing I will say to anybody that's interested in getting into this, especially from going hobby to pro, is that number one, do you like cleaning?
No, it's true.
Yeah.
90% of this business is cleaning and sanitizing, and I'd say 5% of it is working with apples and honey, and the other 5% is literally everything else that we do.
Yeah.
It's production is mostly cleaning and sanitizing, so you better be cool with that. But otherwise, it's a great thing to get into. You're literally making people happy with alcohol.
I think that's a great thing to let them know. Is it's not all up front. There's all the stuff in the back you guys
Yes.
got to deal with and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So once again, props to the wonderful work that you guys have done.
Thank you.
in creating all this stuff and everything.
Yeah. Quick nerd question. Do you guys always use the same honey, or do you guys change up honey varieties?
Honey varietals are a great question. I found that honey varietals are a lot like apple varietals. They're best experienced uniquely or maybe paired with another one. So if you're going to use a buckwheat honey, you want to just use buckwheat honey.
Okay.
If you use buckwheat honey and you dump in a whole bunch of apple cider, the individual qualities of the honey are lost in what becomes the new thing. Same thing with apple varieties. If you use like Northern Spy apples only, but you dump in a whole bunch of honey, the things about the Northern Spy are lost. So we do single varietals specifically, but most of the time we're using a blend of Catskills honey from farms north of us. Most of the time we're using a blend of apple varieties from the Hudson Valley.
Okay. And sorry, another nerd question.
No, that's fine. I was just gonna ask, do you mix the honey? Like, if it could be the same type, but do you have to keep it as the same type, or do you mix them? I guess.
We do a process called co-fermentation. So we like to ferment all of our sugars together. Okay. That means that when we go into primary fermentation, we'll mix in the cider and the honey about at the same time. That way they ferment together. The sugars are reduced at the same time, and the end product is unique. I only point this out because you could make a Cyder by fermenting a cider and fermenting a mead and then mixing the alcohols at the end.
That's cheating.
It's called blending.
Yes, but when you're a pro like Japheth,
It's not my preferred style.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask about, if you can, tell us what variety cherry and blueberry, if possible, because from my short time trying to copy Japheth, like I've heard that the variety of fruit really matters, because what you buy at Hannaford. Sorry, I don't want to talk shit. I love Hannaford. The stuff you buy at the supermarket isn't always the best for this type of process.
100%. If you can get farm stuff or specific varietal stuff, it's always better, mainly because it's fresher. Most of what we lose at the supermarket is just because those products are so old by the time we get them.
There's all the travel and
Yeah.
all that.
Exactly.
You're not getting it fresh.
Also, the apples have been waxed.
Yeah.
So
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Specifically in this one, I think we used tart cherries. And the blueberries, I'm not sure, but they were from a local farm right outside of Philly. So,
Right, so-
super, super fresh when we got them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, dope. Hey, once again, thank you for, letting us come here and drink your alcohol.
Oh, that's not a problem.
I never
That's
had
what
a
we do.
problem
It's
and all
literally what
that.
we do.
But I think, we've got to cover those. Before we get out, we'd like to get a little more personal. I know Keenan had a question.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I not Facebook. I Instagram stalked the two of you, just for the show. For
For sure. Good save.
And I noticed that you guys got married in a library, or your reception was in a library.
So it was a bookstore. So we got married at Housing Works Bookstore Cafe in Manhattan, New York. We both have backgrounds. One, we just both really love or voracious readers. And we both had really big book collections that we had to
She
combine.
was an English major. And
I was an English major
I was a
at
screenwriter.
Stony Brook.
Oh, really?
And yeah, he was in first film school for writing scripts. So and then Japheth, also, you were working at Barnes & Noble's when we met.
For most of my career.
For most of the time, yeah.
That's how he set it up. That was the setup.
Yeah.
So when we were looking for like unique vendors or like venues in general, I'd known about Housing Works, and I was really proud of that wedding because we did, besides the venue and they did the food, the rest of that wedding was all DIY. So we made the centerpieces, we had the photo booth set up, we did all the, oh my God, the night before we had forgot to do
flowers.
We made the flowers. So I had a book page bouquet, which I know that like is not, it's a little bit basic right now in 2022, but in 2011, let me tell you, all right, mason jars had just started to become really popular, all right, and it was like, I look back now, I'm like, oh, a little cringe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I wish we
It wasn't cringe. It was timely.
At the time, though, it was super popular, and not that many people were doing it, but it was like people loved it.
Yeah, I don't know when that happened, but like all my friends were like, here's a glass. It's like
Every mason jars.
It's a
for
fucking jar. What
everything.
do you give it to
You
me?
put a drink in it. You put a candle in it. You put, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it was just one of those kind of things. But yeah, so we did it there.
There was a lot of foreshadowing there. The venue that we went to is a nonprofit for homeless folks with AIDS.
Oh wow.
And
Specifically HIV.
Yeah.
and the rest of the wedding was DIY because we couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna get. Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's kind of how we do things now at Forthright, right?
Yeah, that's
we try
true.
We try and work with charities, and everything else we do ourselves
comes-
because we can't afford it.
Full circle.
Yeah,
Full circle.
For a circle, yeah.
I love it. Well, guys, before we go, at Fancy Fridays, we like to ask the one big question. All right?
Okay.
Your ideal weekend. Going out, staying in. Tell us why.
Do you want to go first?
We have the same answer, but you can.
Yeah, we have the same answer. At this point in our lives, we are more stay-in people for sure. It's not that there isn't things to do and people to see. Japheth and I are a big part of the 90-10 rule, where we do 90% of the things together and 10% like separate. So we're with each other all the time, that we just don't have that problem. Like, you know what I mean? We just like to stay home. Like, what did we do last night? We played Carcassonne last night. Oh, we played board games last night, drank some cocktails. So for us, like, a cozy evening home is definitely exactly what we would normally want.
The earlier in the day, the more likely we will go out.
Oh yes, if you catch us earlier, if you're like, Michelle, would you like to go to lunch, like for like the senior special at like 4:30? I'm like, yeah, let's go to dinner, let's do it, because then I can be home at like 7 and I can chill out for the night.
For me, my career has always been in hospitality, which I love. I love meeting new people and making them happy, which is what hospitality is. But at the end of the day, when I'm done working, I kind of want to be away from people. So that kind of keeps me in, and I think we're happy that way.
No, understandable. You guys are Team Keenan.
Yeah, okay, nice.
I'll find my partners to go out with soon enough. We'll find that.
You can always come out here,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's no problem.
and
no
then,
problem.
and then we get the best of both worlds.
That's it. That's how it'll work. Anyway, before we go, would you like to tell people at home where they can find you if they want to get any information? Maybe even just reach out and talk to you guys
Or
and all
look
that.
at your wedding photos, like I did. Like a fucking creeper.
Well, in the real world, we are in the nano town of Youngsville, New York. We have a tasting room here. We do drinks, cocktails, bottles to go. Please come check us out and see what we're about. And then digitally.
And digitally, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook at Forthright Cyder. Our website is also Forthright Cyder, but that is Cyder with a Y, so Cyder. You can also sign up for our mailing list. You can also this summer find us at a bunch of markets in the area. We'll be back at Jeffersonville Market for their second season. We'll be in Ellenville, Mammoth-Cotting, Kingston as a pop-up, also Hudson as a pop-up, and Port Jervis Farmers Market.
Shout out to Beacon Farmers Market.
Oh, I'm sorry, Beacon's Farmers Market. We love you. We're there every Sunday.
And guys, if you guys would like to follow us or keep on checking out great interviews like this, you can do so at Twitter at Fridays Fancy, or you can follow us on YouTube at Fancy Fridays. You'll find us there. Once again, thank you for having us out, and we'll catch you all next time.